Hey, it's Xanthe here. Hopefully you can't also hear the sounds like power garden tools in the distance. I've just got a few notes here because I'm going to be finishing therapy soon. I just wanted to talk about a few aspects about that. I've just written a few notes because I wrote the word meds and my brain got confused. It often does. Okay, so paintings, recent paintings I did, Tui here, Eastern Rosella, based on photos that I'd taken with the same colour palette. I sent pictures of them to my psychologist. I had my therapist by phone, used to have in person, but she moved away. I didn't want to change therapists, so we did video, but really bad internet connection here, so I just ended up doing by phone. So it's actually quite good to just lay on my bed and chat. Okay, so just to do with these topics, I had a supported assessment back in November 2018, so that was 6 years ago. So that was for Accident Compensation Corporation, ACC. Those little sparrows that's on the window. So that was to get funded therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Did I just say that? I can't remember. So this is one of the difficulties that I have, is that I'm always dealing with, I can't remember what I've just said or done shortly before. It's part of how it affects me. By the way, I don't have ADHD because I did not have enough clinically significant features in childhood. So everyone's jumping on the ADHD bandwagon these days. There's lots of things that can look similar. So I've got here just a bunch of notes I just want to try and address. So with the therapy, it started off weekly. It had got to be assessed as very stressful in the first place. Mental health services don't do it, ACC do it because PTSD is considered to be an injury, so it's split in the New Zealand system. Mental health services do the bipolar disorder, and then once they've got your meds sorted, they just charge it to your GP for maintenance. So it started off weekly, in person, but then there was a big a delay before they finally approve it. So, you know, waiting at least 6 months or so. So I've been in therapy for over 5 years. But the process started 6 years ago, but the process before that started even longer ago because I was referred from a mental health nurse who recognised the trauma, even though I'd mentioned the trauma decades ago. It's just been a very, very long process of decades of being in and out of mental health services. Originally diagnosed with treatment-resistant depression and generalised anxiety disorders. You know, all these labels. It's all quite political as well. So let's go. So yeah, she suggested today, just because I've got lots of coping skills, etc. You know, obviously she's got other clients that she could take on who, you know, that feel like we've done all we can do, really. So it has helped a lot. It's been a combination of stuff I've done myself, which I want to mention here as well. I've written a few notes. It's a combination approach, and and by the way, most people with a similar type of presentation to myself, which was severe, so now more moderate range now, managing. Most people will take with therapy 1 year to 18 months. I needed a slower approach just because of the complication with 2 main traumas plus the bipolar disorder mood things. So try and not make my mood go way too high or too low if you try and do things too fast. So anyway, I've agreed. So So weekly, then fortnightly, and then monthly the last 4 months or so. And then it's going to be the last session next month. So yeah, after all these years. I mentioned to her during the therapy that I did have someone rant on me. It was actually on LinkedIn, which used to be the place where a whole lot of people with high-flying, high-paid careers all self-diagnosing with autism and ADHD and CPTSD, complex PTSD. The reason they choose CPTSD is because they know they don't meet criteria for PTSD, which requires clinically defined trauma. Now, so what they do is they say that all of their misunderstandings they've had all adds up and it becomes CPTSD. Anyway, because I, pointed out that what's the point of even getting these diagnoses if you don't have any impairments at all? And so a man, I didn't even read his full comment because it was so triggering, but I just blocked, which is actually really healthy for me, because before I would just get roped into a mindless, pathetic argument with some pathetic stranger. I'm going to call him pathetic, because what he did is he said, I don't even remember what his career is, but obviously he had a very well paid career. He says, is my getting fired a few times enough impairment for you? So he started with that, and then he said, is my daughter dying enough for you? And then he went and diagnosed her, armchair diagnosed her autism. And but what was triggering was he put the blame onto me, a complete stranger. And I'm just running a note here because there's something else to mention. A complete stranger just placing their anger onto a stranger about I think, suicide of his daughter. And nothing, absolutely nothing to do with me. Irrational. And even if she was given that label, which now a lot of people claim as an identity, but they also use the excuse that they can't unmask for no one noticing a damn thing, including themselves. It's just become so watered down. Even if though someone identifies as that label, if they have still significant mental health issues or trauma or whatever's going on, it won't make a damn bit of difference. And I know that from experience, because I called myself autistic for, it would have been easily over 5 years, and I did have clinically significant features since childhood, and it's all politics all about that. I actually no longer call myself autistic, partly because it was watering down. Other people will call me autistic. But anyway, I also don't use the word neurodivergent because it was so political. But what I did though with that, I did not reply. What are you supposed to do when someone is being irrational and their issues, dumping it onto someone else? And best thing, and I told my psychologist, she said the best thing you could do is just disengage. So I just blocked, and I have to think about what's healthy for me. To do with this politics, I won't give you specifics really, but I was actually approached by someone asking if I would be involved in discussions to do with this whole politics, to do with autism, etc. By the way, to do with the autism, psychiatrist said I am on the autism spectrum, but subthreshold to ASD, autism spectrum disorder. So there's so confusing mess. Anyway, I don't consider it to be my entire identity. You could say it's personality traits, you could say it's the trauma, you could say whatever, but I was approached by some people, whether they've got, they're autistic themselves or family members are, asking if I would consider being in discussions about the harm that's been done by the political crap, and I basically said, I actually hate politics and it's actually not good for me, and I've pretty much said most of what I can say about it, because I've said my piece that yes, I do think self-diagnosis is unwise. I've got so much abuse over it. So many things can look similar. I can understand why people do it, but even the people that have the means to get assessed won't, because they say that they're scared it will take away their identity if they get misdiagnosed as normal. Yes, one of the biggest influencers on YouTube said that, and I can't even bother naming people anymore in case all their minions go for me, because it's just pathetic. And so I did decline. I said, look, this is not good use of my very limited energy that I have. And also the backlash, these arguments have been going on for years. I mean, years and years and years and years. I do put my 2 cents in now and again, and in general though, because of the whole way that diagnoses are watered down, that it's now indistinguishable from the people they call neurotypical. Anyway, let's get away from this political topic, but I did decline an invitation. Thank you for thinking of me, but no thanks. I just don't want to get involved with this never-ending arguing with irrational people. And also the thing is, even if you do agree with someone on one point, for example, someone else might agree with me, hey, self-diagnosis is unwise, it doesn't mean that we agree with everything else, right? Or even if we share a diagnosis, it doesn't mean we agree on all things. We will have and that's what I'm very critical of ideology, because it is so cult-like. It becomes so toxic. Let's get away from the stinking ass politics. Now, anyway, incidentally, this last week or so, my most viewed video, which is probably my most cringe video, has racked up over 80,000 views. I don't actually get paid for this channel. I have trademarked the name, but that's just to kind of protect it from someone else taking it and stopping me using it. But it does show when I was off medications, and it was recorded before I started this channel, and over a period of a month I put in a 7-minute video. A lot of people expressed gratitude. Thank you for showing us, thank you for sharing, taking courage, and you're brave and whatever. A few people have said, oh, you must be an actress. Well, I always just say, well, where's my Oscar then? Now, to do with the meds, I wrote with meds. Recently, under the supervision of my doctor, I've reduced a medication I was prescribed as for sedative effect. It was an antipsychotic, even though I haven't had full psychosis as one of my primary features. Bipolar disorder, I have diagnosed with bipolar type 1, doesn't necessarily have psychosis. People confuse mania and psychosis. You can actually get mania and depression without psychosis. It would have been on the edge of psychosis, is what my psychologist said, and that's clinicians have said. Now, I've spoken about doing this. I was very, very tired going through the process, but I am feeling less fatigued in the mornings. So, I don't want to be zombified 24/7, so I am still on carbamazepine as my mood stabilizer. I've tried lithium twice in my life. I refuse to take it ever again. I've already talked about it elsewhere, but I've managed to have the quetiapine, so now on a very low dose at night, and the doctor's prescribed me melatonin, which will give the exact same hangover effect the next day, but I tend to take one on the weekend just to, try to you know, just trying to keep on top of my sleep and rest. Now, I haven't noticed any dramatic weight changes, partly because I still have a bit of a chocolate habit, but I do feel though that I have a little bit more usable energy during the day. So I'm of the belief personally, because these medications are so zombifying, that I prefer to be on as minimal dose as I can, and then there's an adjustment within certain parameters if I do end up getting a bit too elevated. Basically, it's just to get enough sleep is the main primary mode of action, really, when it comes down to, and then just self-care things. So I was trying to talk about this video before I got a little bit off on a tangent. So I don't know if we'll be able to reduce it further. We'll just see how we go. But as the doctor believes though that would be the main weight one. But coping skills, let's have a look at that generally. So I am still classified and even rated by a doctor last year as having impairment of a mental injury, which is the PTSD, but he also said the bipolar disorder for me, in my case, should have come under that from the first place. So the ACC does, you know, they do the therapy part, but there was also a compensation lump sum part. I should have been, it's all politics again, I should have been assessed in the first place, but a lot of people mistakenly believe that bipolar shouldn't be included, but it depends. So this was, anyway, it's a whole nother topic, but anyway, it was still for me a big fight with ACC over that part, because unfortunately there is a lot of politics involved, even with the doctors, and I got dished out a doctor who never even saw me, just talked to me on the phone briefly, read some reports, completely twisted them, and they won't shift it because they say they're trained. So there's politics with that, there's politics all over the frickin' place. Anyway, so coping skills. My main coping skills, so I had the therapy that was very useful to me. The reason it was useful was because I had someone in confidence that wasn't going to judge me. Now, it obviously would depend on who you get, because if you get someone who abuses that somehow, or they gaslight you or whatever, that's not much good. But I happen to be paired up with a clinical psychologist whom I got on well with. I felt comfortable. Most of it was not unpleasant. There were a few times, because I'm diagnosed with a shutdown presentation of PTSD, where one of my triggers is intense emotion, and it's kind of like I need to have a mood instability with the bipolar to be able to feel it and express it. And she didn't judge me, just letting it out sometimes, just how, you know, unfair everything was about some things. And other times it was just analysing and me talking, or just sharing what I've done or what sort of process I've done on my own. But this is where I want to get to. The coping skills for me has mainly been my self-directed creative self-expression, which I've extensively talked about, plus also on my channel Soul Purpose. Now, my main form is actually painting. I call myself a semi-professional artist, even though I don't make a living from it. But I have exhibited my art. Now, I could talk for ages about it. It's one of my passions, but other forms of creative expression include writing. I've got a couple of books, self-published books, which are inspired by my experiences. One is memoir, one is semi-autobiographical fiction. But Bipolar Courage, Are You Sure You're Not Autistic? Which is what someone asked me, the other main character in the book. And the Pet Purpose, Your Unspoken Voice, They're on Amazon and major ebook distributors. I'm trying to write Salt Peppers, but it's just one of those things that takes me a very long time to do because of the difficulty I have with memory, basically. It's one of the things that I'm working with. So a lot of the therapy was actually about adjusting. I did a lot of the processing on a deeper level myself, with therapeutic expressions. So that could be painting, more abstracted painting. So now I'm painting more, I guess, different style of painting that involves a lot more thought process in a different way. I've pretty much processed all I need to process, you know, the grief themes, the trauma themes, whatever. The other thing that is very important to me is working on fitness, and it is really, really frustrating, you know, the significant weight gain, and I mean like over 20-25 kilos of weight gain. I know it's significantly from meds, because when I've been off the meds it came off again, but then my anxiety was higher, so some of it could be anxiety burning off as well. So I would be quite happy to get under 80 kilos, to be honest. Like, I'm up around about 90 kilos, and my weight should medically be under 70 kilos for my height. But anyway, I have managed to, over several months, just doing some basic calisthenics exercises, is mainly my, you know, body weight type exercises, is my strengthening and toning type exercises, just going to the park and using the bars. At first I couldn't even lift my weight off the ground, and now I can lift my weight for at least 5 seconds at a time, at least 5 times. And now I can, even with parallel bars, lift myself up. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do any dips or full pull-ups. I doubt it at my weight, but I can do supported ones with the bar rows and pull-ups, you know, when my feet are touching the ground, but letting my shoulder